is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Well, right now it is a beautiful night for baseball in downtown Cincinnati. Welcome to Great American Ballpark. It's a second of 4 between the Chicago Cubs and the Cincinnati Reds. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball. Certainly hoping for better things here tonight. Of course, Jake Arrieta last night throwing the 15th no-hitter in Cubs history. Oh, and by the way, their offense, Chris, in now 4 games is really beating on this Reds pitching staff.
Oh, you're right about that. I mean, last night was kind of a microcosm of it all, where one team did all the hitting, the other team did nothing at all. And when I say all the hitting, the Cubs have been doing it really every time they've met the Cubs so far this year. Going back to last week's series at Wrigley Field, they're hitting home runs, they're getting on base, they're showing themselves to be a very tough lineup to pitch to because they've got a lot of balance and power all the way to the bottom of that lineup.
Well, the man who is being asked to slow him down here tonight is making only his 2nd start of the year after coming off the disabled list, although he threw the ball well in St. Louis, and that's John Moscott.
Well, he came within 1 out of having a quality start in St. Louis on Sunday, went 5 2/3 innings for Moscott. And you got to figure he had a lot of jitters out there, number one. He'd been on the disabled list with a rib injury, so I'm not sure whether he was really up to strength yet or not. But he's going to have to do the same thing tonight he did on Sunday. Spot his fastball, use his breaking ball, use his defense behind him. If he's able to do that, he should be able to at least tone down this Cubs offense a little bit.
And he's going against a pretty good left-hander tonight in John Lester.
Well, John Lester, you talk about a tough act to follow. That's what John Lester's looking at tonight. His 1-1 record so far this season with a 2.2 earned run average is way better than it was last year at this time. So they like the way he started. He lost a heartbreaker of a game on Sunday, 2-0 against the Rockies. But he's a left-hander that just pours in one strike after another. So Reds hitters better be ready to swing that bat.
All righty. When we come back, Jim Day getting together with his old buddy Joey Votto. Votto trying to get it going here tonight. Jim Day has that and so much more on Fox Sports Ohio.
Check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time.
Tonight's going to be another night where we may have a couple of showers, especially for the start of the game. Even a few thunder showers going to be possible, but they will be hit or miss. So hopefully they miss the stadium. But temperatures will be in the lower 60s. By 7 o'clock, we'll be in the upper 50s to mid 50s throughout the game. Let's get a win tonight. Let's go Reds.
I'm Jim Day on the field where it has begun sprinkling here. Joey Votto has never gone this long between hits. He's in a slump, but it's not because of a lack of hard work. Votto, per usual Joey Votto, out working early. This is video on Tuesday of him working early, very early before everyone's out there, and then earlier today working with hitting coach Don Long. One guy that is not worried about Votto is indeed hitting coach Don Long.
He used the term, I'm annoyed, but I'm not concerned. And the reason he has the right to not be concerned is because he's very disciplined about what he does. And he knows it's a matter of time if he stays with the process and just keeps working every day to do the things that he needs to do and get in the right spot to hit, that the results that he wants in the game are going to take care of themselves.
And Votto has turned down having an off day. He's back in there tonight. Lineups and first pitch are up next as the Reds look for a little bounce back after a tough night last night. Tom and Chris are next on Fox Sports Ohio.
Rain, which is passing by downtown. In fact, it has lightly started to rain here just in the last minute or two. But we're going to get started. Joe Madden, Chicago Cubs, sporting the best record in all of Major League Baseball. And you see his numbers as a Cub manager, spectacular. After winning 97 his first full year in 2015. Cub lineup has Fowler in center, Hayward in right, Chris Bryant knocked in 6 last night with a pair of home runs. Anthony Rizzo also homered, so too did Ben Zobrist. Javier Baez in on a third, a latter third of Addison Russell. David Ross a home run, one of the 5 hit last night by the Cubs. And catching his longtime battery mate, John Lester. On the mound for the Redlegs, making his second start of this season since being activated off the disabled list. and that is right-hander Jon Moscot.
Pretty tough challenges in his first 2 big league games this year for Moscot. He pitched in St. Louis against the Cardinals last Sunday and did not do all that poorly. He gave up 3 runs in 5 2/3 innings to 102 pitches in that. He's always been kind of an under-the-radar guy as far as the Reds minor leagues go. Drafted round number 4, 2012 out of Pepperdine. He came out of college a very polished pitcher, but he's not the type of pitcher that has the top side where you think he may be the ace of staff. He doesn't throw 98 miles an hour, doesn't have a killer slider, but he does have a lot of different pitches that he can use to keep hitters off balance, and he's going to need to use all of them tonight. Curveball, slider, changeup, 2 different kinds of fastballs, but primarily that sinker that goes down and into right-handers will be his bread and butter.
Take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. They'll go with new ball. Tyler Holt to start in center field for the A-League. Billy Hamilton. Jim Day. We'll have more on that later. Jay Bruce in right. Suarez, Cozart, Phillips, and Votto around the infield. And Mesoraco hanging the signs as it's raining harder now than at any time. But this is expected to be a very short passing shower. So they're going to go ahead and get started. Fowler digging in. Looks at ball 1 and this one underway. Fowler having a spectacular start. There is no other word to describe it. He has been on base more than any player in Major League Baseball over the first 2 weeks of this season. Leads the majors with a .521 on base percentage. Second in the National League with a .393 average. And a liner caught by Votto to begin the game.
Even his outs are hard right now. You know you're really locked in when this happens to you. And Votto leaps up to catch a line drive that was destined to head to right field for maybe even extra base hits, and that ball gets by him.
So 1 away in the inning, and here comes Jason Hayward. An even .200 batter without a home run. 7 runs batted in. Hayward was on base 4 times last night. 2 hits, 2 walks, 2 runs scored. Of course, a lot of guys were. The Cubs put up 16 runs last night on 18 hits against 4 Cincinnati pitchers. Moscot, a very quick worker. 24 years old, grew up in Palisades, California, just outside of Los Angeles. Played at Cuesta College in San Luis Obispo. And then from there went to Pepperdine University, where the Reds drafted him in the 4th round of 2012. 3-1 on Hayward. Last year, Moscot reached AAA to begin the year. He had only made 3 starts at the end of 14, went 7-1 at AAA with an ERA barely over 3. And at 9 starts, the Reds decided, why not bring this young man up to the big leagues and give him a shot. He was one of 9 rookie pitchers who combined for 110 starts for the Reds last year, including the final 64, a Major League modern day record. It's very odd. You look in the skies above, and there's basically almost in Mohawk-like fashion going right through the middle of the ballpark. A dark cluster of clouds flanked on either side by blue skies. And there you get a look. Just sitting right above us. 8th pitch of this battle between Fowler and Hayward, payoff pitch, and there'll be a 9th pitch.
Boy, Fowler, Hayward does not get cheated. I mean, you can see even with the 2-strike count on him, and it's a full count, but I mean, he is just letting it rip on every pitch. He puts a lot of effort in it. He's one of those hitters that his swing really begins in his feet and moves on up.
And this is what the Cubs do to people. They really, really make you work, at least through the 2+ weeks of this season. They lead the major leagues in walks. So you have a lot of guys with very low batting averages You know, case in point, Hayward hitting 200, but his on-base percentage is up over 320. You have Rizzo hitting cleanup, a 186 batter, but an on-base percentage a third of the time he's getting on base in his plate appearances. Here's Bryant, a monster game last night. All 4 of his home runs this season have come against the Cincinnati Reds. Homered in back-to-back games at Wrigley Field a week and a half ago before clubbing 2 home runs, 4 hits, scored 4, drove in 6 last night.
You know, you got to remember that the next day's starting pitcher charts the game before. So Moscot, I mean, probably had writer's cramp, first of all, from trying to chart the pitches in the game that went on last night. But, you know, you're seeing all this happen. You know, hitter after hitter, hitting the ball on the button, leaving the ballpark, home run after home run. And your tendency, I would imagine, if you're Moscot, you're on the mound, you're thinking, well, I've got to do something extra special to get these guys out. And sometimes that's the worst thing that you can do. Back it down a little bit. Because what got John Moscot here was not rearing back and trying to throw as hard as he can. It's hitting the corners, changing speeds, and the same thing will help if you do that against big league hitters. You got big league defense behind you.
1 on 1 out, 1-0 on Bryant. And a breaking ball he doesn't chase. 2 balls, no strikes. Well, it's incredible the way the Cubs hit the ball against the Reds at Wrigley a week and a half ago. They were shut down. Completely shut down, in one case shut out over the weekend against the Colorado Rockies. Then they come to town last night and just tee off. Runner goes, and safely with his 2nd stolen base of the year is Hayward.
Well, Moscot had thrown over 2 times in this at bat already. He gets a fastball to handle, does Mesoraco, and bounces it to Phillips. It's an athletic team you're playing here. I'm a little surprised that Bryant didn't like that pitch enough to hack at it.
2 balls and a strike. Now they play more of a shift on Bryant. Breaking ball away again. 3 balls and 1 strike.
You know, you've got to establish your fastball a little bit before they start chasing those pitches out of the zone, that breaking ball.
Runner at second, 1 out, 3-1 to Bryant. We're just underway, and it's hooked right at Suarez. So a couple of very loud outs here in the opening inning, but outs nonetheless. And after last night, you'll take them any way you can get them.
You can. I mean, not everything they hit is going to be this hard. At least you hope not if you're John Moscot. But you work yourself into a 3-1 count with a hot hitter at the plate. You really have got to make a good pitch or get some luck.
Now Anthony Rizzo, as mentioned, a 186 batter, on base percentage of .333, has 5 home runs and a team best 16 runs batted in. Fastball off the inside corner. The rain has stopped, so for some of the fans who had started to make their way up under cover, they're now headed for their seats. 1-0 pitch to Rizzo with Hayward at second and 2 out. A ball and a strike. Jim Day told you about the first time here at Great American Ballpark last night. We had the Ball girls, and they are back again tonight. seemingly every inning against every team. You look at the Cubs, and the pitcher is reaching at least the 20 pitch mark. And starters are having a hard time going more than 5 or even 6 innings against this Cub team. And now it's a third consecutive 3-ball count to a Cub hitter. 3-1.
Yeah, what you're doing by throwing so many pitches out of the zone is that these hitters are seeing your release point, they're seeing your delivery, they're getting their timing down. I mean, you want to get these at bats done in 3 pitches or fewer. The more they see you, the more they get locked in.
3-1 offering coming to Rizzo. And there's a second walk in this opening inning. So now you have to face Zobrist with 2 on and 2 out. Zobrist, a switch batter, hitting at .246. Hit his first home run of the season here last night. He had 3 hits in the game, was on base 4 times, and drove in 3 runs, giving him 7 RBIs on the year. I mean, everybody except for Addison Russell got fat in the Cub lineup at the Reds' pitching expense last night. And it appears Moscott will survive a somewhat wild opening inning. 2 walks, 2 left. Reds are coming up. Cozart, Suarez, and Joey Votto.
And I think that you can see the way John Moscott was kind of nodding that, yep, I get it. That's what I'm going to do in the second inning.
Red starting lineup tonight has Zach Cozart leading off. Eugenio Suarez is at third. Joey Votto looking for his first hit in his last 19 at bats. That's a career long without a hit. Phillips, Mesoraco, Bruce in the middle. Duvall, Holt, and Moscott. The latter third, and on the mound, pitching very well to begin this year. Unlike April of last year, his first year as a Cub, left-hander John Lester.
Yeah, they're very happy with the way that Lester is right now. They signed him to a long-term deal, a huge money deal, and he delivered, really not in the way of wins and losses last year, but certainly in the way his consistency was when he took the mound. He is signed through the year 2020.
Lester went 6 innings against the Reds at Wrigley earlier this year, and he gave up 3 earned runs. Reds scored in the first inning against him, and he'll retire Cozart on the second pitch to begin the bottom of the first inning. Let's take a look at Chicago defensively presented by Ford. Fowler flanked by Bryant, who goes from third to left field tonight. So they can start Javier Baez, activated off the disabled list after the Reds left town last week. And David Ross has been joined at the hip with John Lester for a number of years now, going back to Boston, and didn't go with him to Oakland for a short time. That was a trade made in the middle of the year. And then when he signed with the Cubs, Ross followed Lester to the Windy City. 0-1 on a Eugenio Suarez.
Back when Lester was sent from the Boston Red Sox to the Oakland A's, he went along with a former Red, Johnny Gomes.
Nothing in 2 on Suarez. They remember the A's made that deal because they were leading the American League West. They wound up in the 1-game playoff, but they acquired Lester to pitch in that very kind of a game. They had a huge lead in that game, and Lester could not hold it. And the Athletics wound up losing. And Lester did not pitch well at all. He did win a pair of World Series while pitching for the Boston Red Sox. 2-2 to Suarez. Pulled foul.
You know, we said it before the game in describing John Lester as a guy that just pours strike after strike in there. And that's really what he does. He's a strike throwing machine. Rarely does he ever beat himself. Coming off a very good outing his last time out Sunday against the Rockies, where he lost 2-0 but only gave up a run in 7 1/3.
Russell cuts it loose in time to retire Suarez 2 away.
Well, not only are you looking at a power-packed team in the Cubs, they are an excellent defensive team. Short sample size already this year, but they have shown themselves as a team to be the best defensive team in baseball so far.
So here's Joey Votto, and he looks at a fastball, strike 1 at 94 miles per hour in the outside corner. I know many of you enjoyed that pregame report turned in by Jim Day on Joey Votto. Really shortens up on that bat, as he frequently does with 2 strikes. And how about that? A little check swing down the third base line. And the 0 for 19 stretch comes to an end in the first at bat of the night for Joey Votto. That's why you choke up.
Well, it gives you an inordinate amount of bat control when you choke up like that. And he's just protecting the plate right here. He doesn't really know whether that's going to be a ball or a strike, but it's too close to take. And you can see he almost wanted to foul that ball off. But as good fortune has it, it stays fair, and he picks up a 2-out base hit.
Well, I tell you, it's a brave man, Don Long, right there. I don't know if that's the right word, brave. Soft tossing without a net, standing or kneeling 4 feet away from anybody with a bat. But thankfully he's down in that dugout and he's a-okay. Here's Brandon Phillips. So the Reds, after getting no hit last night by Jake Arrieta, get a check swing grounder up the third base line by Votto. Their first hit coming in the opening inning tonight. Buster handles one hopper back to the mound, and the inning is over. A hit, a man left. We played one at Great American Ballpark. We're scoreless. Brought to you by Elk and Elk. Experience versus youth tonight on the mound. I mean, look at these starting rotations, at least the way they're assembled right now for the Cubs. Better than 1,000 career starts. The Reds without Homer Bailey or Anthony DeSclafani in the quartet in this series, 143. And of course, Simon has the bulk along with Straley of those. Well, it worked out for the Cubs in game one. We'll find out about tonight. Javier Baez playing in his 6th game since being activated. He injured his thumb during spring training. And then just when they were about to bring him back, he took a fastball off that same hand area and delayed his return a few more days. Highly touted prospect for a number of years coming up in the Cubs organization. Primarily as a second baseman by the time he reached the big leagues. But now they view him as a guy that can play and will play everywhere, infield and outfield. And he gets the first Cubs hit of the night.
Body going one way, back going the other, and he just is able to lay that ball that hung up in the zone over to right field. You can see that front foot of his really stepping over towards the shortstop. But Baez normally, he's a young man that when he first came up, I mean, he didn't get cheated one bit. He was up there to just let it rip. And they like to be able to see him control his approach a little bit more. That's a pretty good indication that he's getting it.
I don't know if any player in the history of baseball hit the ball harder last night than Addison Russell did without getting a base hit. He lined to short, twice lined to left, lined out to Suarez at third, and then hit a one-hop rocket at Kozar. 0 for 5 for Addison Russell. Of course, he's not been hitting much so far to begin the year. Only at 196, his only home run was a big one in that come from behind win against the Reds bullpen, that opening game of a series at Wrigley Field. Runner goes, Mesoraco throws, and really no chance for Devin. 2 bases stolen already in the game, and both of them against Moscot.
You can see Moscot when he goes through that full stretch position, meaning when he lifts his leg up normally, he's very slow and deliberate to the plate. He's going to have to mix in some slide steps some quick throwovers, holding the ball at different times, just trying to set the offense and upset their timing a little bit of that runner. But at the same time, the guy on second base doesn't score unless the guy at the plate does something. So he's got to not worry at all about Baez at second and put every bit of his concentration on the hitter.
Two and two on Addison Russell, and a glance back, and here comes the pitch, and a fastball is just off the outside corner. Third 3-ball count. Now to the first 7 hitters of this game. Number 8 hitter David Ross next, then the pitcher Lester. So this is a very important batter in this inning to try and prevent Russell from advancing Baez down to third. Delayed steal there by Baez.
Now, it was a couple of years ago that the Cubs acquired Addison Russell. He was a former #1 draft pick for the Oakland A's. The Cubs sent Jeff Samardzija and Jason Hamill to the A's in exchange for Russell, who was a prospect and the future shortstop for the Cubs, and Dan Straley, who is now in the Reds rotation.
Again, a 3-2, and a bouncing ball that will advance the runner. Good play by Kozar to come in and get it. If it bounces a second time, Russell easily would have beaten the throw. So now the number 8 hitter coming up, 1 out, runner at third in a scoreless game. Ross had 2 hits, was on base 3 times, scored 3 runs, including a solo home run in the 16-0 win last night. Reds are going to bring their infield in.
Yeah, they bring the infield in to try to cut off a ground ball, prevent the run from scoring. But if you're John Moscott, you're thinking strikeout here from the very first pitch of this at bat.
David Ross caught his first no-hitter last night, Jim Day.
Indeed he did, and he walked into the press room right after Jake Arrieta was done, and the only reason that he walked in there was to get a picture with Arrieta. He was so excited about it. Of course the media wanted to talk to him about it, but check him out. He comes in, and the first thing he wanted to have done was someone take a picture. And Arrieta after the game said that that was maybe the most special part of it, that Ross had never caught a no-hitter in his final year as a player. Finally got that done.
Pop fly short right, and Bruce will get it. Tagging is Baez. Jay having to throw on the run and couldn't get anything on it. So that steal of second base in this inning becomes very important. A sac fly run batted in, 1-0 Chicago. Nice play by Jay Bruce to get to that ball.
That ball just kept dying and dying. He kept running harder and harder, and that ball was running out of steam. What a funky slide by Baez. I'm not even sure he's yet hit the plate, has he? I guess he did with his left hand, but he bounced on his left knee, came rolling around on his right, laid there behind the plate for a moment after the play was complete. In fact, Joe Madden, the manager, started coming out of the dugout saying, well, did he hurt himself?
Well, that was ugly.
Stumbling, bumbling, tumbling.
2-2 on the pitcher Lester. A run home. The base is empty. 2 outs in the second inning. Cubs scoring first for this 1-0 lead. That ball hit very hard. Duvall short of the track will run it down. Cubs lead 1-0.
Nothing. And the Reds are trying to get their offense going against the Cubs like they have done against the rest of the league. We're going to show you what they've done against the Cubs. And this is one to look at right here. When the Reds are scoring 1.5 runs per game against the Cubs, but 4.5 or 4.8 against the rest of the league. Same with the home runs. They've only hit 1 against this Cubs ball club. They've hit 11 against the rest of the teams they played. And of course, extra base hits the same. So somehow or other, they've got to figure out a way to do the same thing against this Cubs team that they have done so far against other ball clubs that they have played. And right now, the Reds sit at 8-8. The Cubs are spreading their lead now between first place and the rest of the division by having a 12-win season, the only team in baseball with 12 wins under their belt.
Of course, trying to get right against this Cubs pitching staff is what every team in the National League has tried to do so far this year. Their starting pitchers in the first 16 games of this year have collected 11 wins. It's only the second time in franchise history. It's the first time since 1922. The starters have turned in 14 quality starts so far in their first 16 games. That's the most ever in Cubs franchise history through the first 16 games in a year. So they're not only doing it to the Reds, they're doing it to everybody. They just completely shut down the St. Louis Cardinals, winning 2 of 3 before they arrived here in Cincinnati and got the no-hitter from Marietta last night. And those numbers don't lie. 194 opponents' batting average against this Cub pitching staff. Speaking of the Cardinals, they'll be out west in San Diego later tonight. Pirates are in Arizona. Pirates took a licking in San Diego as Mesoraco is gone swinging. And the Brewers will host the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, the Cubs have put their team together obviously through a lot of different ways. They've got some young, good talent that they drafted high in the draft, guys like Chris Bryant. They've made trades for young players like Anthony Rizzo and Addison Russell. But for the most part, their pitching staff, they've gone out and either traded for or they've signed free agent wise. So they haven't really developed anybody in their starting rotation. I mean, they traded to get Jake Arrieta. They signed John Lester to a long-term deal. They signed John Lackey to a multi-year contract as a free agent from the Cardinals last year. So it's not like they've got a farm system stock full of young pitching that is on the precipice of being all #1 starters. But they figured that it was an easier way to make themselves competitive in a hurry by using some money to buy starting pitching and use the young players coming up through the system to supplement those that they've already acquired in trades. One of those that have come through the system injured and out for the year, and Kyle Schwarber.
1-2 on Jay Bruce.
You look around, Tom, and when Schwarber was injured, he left a big gap. I mean, but is there another team out there that could absorb the loss of a potential middle of the order hitter like Kyle Schwarber the way the Cubs seem to be able to adapt to that loss?
That was off the end of the bat, and that'll be a fly ball to right. Well, that's where, you know, not only having talent on your team, but I think, Chris, every bit as important, and you and I have talked about this, is not being afraid. You're not asking young players, you're telling young players that you're going to be capable of playing more than one position. So it's not all of a sudden all on Jorge Soler, for example, to fill the shoes of Schwarber. I mean, he's getting most of the playing time, but if for whatever reason things don't work out there, you can send Chris Bryant, who I think everybody agrees is going to be a perennial all-star in his major league career. You move him out to left field, and then you're plugging in a guy like Baez, who again just 2 years ago, along with Soler, were the top 2 rated players in their entire farm system. I have always felt that that's where teams are missing the boat, is not demanding that players play more than one position. It's in the yard to left field, and that'll do it. 1, 2, 3 go the Reds. We go to the 3rd. Cubs lead 1-0. Hands through the gate thanks to John Morrell. We have that Votomatic Super bobblehead to give away tomorrow, and you can get a ticket for as low as $12. 513-381-REDS or visit Reds.com today. I don't know where you're going to find a better deal than that. $12. Come on down. That lady right there grooving a little bit. That looks like Chris Welsh a little bit, the way he dances there, kind of going side to side. When you listen to a little Air Supply, all that on your
hey,
iPod.
did I leave my iPad open?
You did, but it was very good. I hadn't heard Air Supply in a long time.
Then you were due.
I'm all out of love. One ball and one strike. Top of the order, 1-0 Chicago, batting here in the third. Fouled off his front leg by Fowler, who hit a laser to the right of Joey Votto, made a diving catch to take away a hit, probably a double for Fowler leading off the game. It is incredible the way this Reds Cubs series has completely swung the other way. And I remember, Chris, us talking about it, that last homestand of 2014. That was after the Reds had a 5-year stretch where they won the season series against the Cubs. Then the Reds lost 2 out of 3 in Chicago. They came back here. They were swept by the Cubs in 14. Neither team was going anywhere. And, it made you wonder, is this thing now, as we often see, being cyclical, swinging back in the Cubs' favor? And boy, is it ever. Lines it the other way, and what a catch by Adam Duvall, and a tip of the cap by Hayward. I mean, Hayward knows great defense because he plays great defense, and that is a great defensive play by Duvall.
We got a good jump on that ball coming off the bat of a left-hander. It's going to be slicing away from Adam. Now, there's a guy that you were referring to earlier as a player that can play multiple positions. Duvall, really best suited maybe to be a first baseman, but there's no room at the end here at first base. Sure. So he can play third base, he can play outfield on the corners. They don't think he projects as a center fielder, but that's a heck of a defensive play right there. Some will say that playing left field, especially left field here at Great American Ballpark, can be one of the toughest outfield positions there is, because first of all, balls are never hit straight at you. I mean, the tough plays are hooking or they're slicing off the bat of a left-hander like Hayward's was. You've got the sun in your eyes, and he doesn't know it yet, Duvall, but when it comes around, May and June and July, this time of night, he will be looking straight into a glaring sun and almost unable to see a ball being delivered to the plate. So it's not always so true that you put your worst outfielders on the corners. You got to work at it to look good out there.
And a 1-2-3 inning as he takes care of Bryant for John Moscott. His first strikeout of the night. Outstanding play by Duvall.
Last night, only 2 pitchers in Major League Baseball history have 0 losses between no-hitters. Obviously, the Reds' Johnny Vandermeer, who went back-to-back, but Jake Arrieta, 9 starts between no-hitters, which is unbelievable. You guys talked about last night how he's an off-season workout partner with Homer Bailey. Homer Bailey made it back to the yard today and asked him about it, and he said yes indeed. And I asked him if he exchanged messages with Arrieta last night, and he said yes. And I said, would you care to share it? In true Homer Bailey fashion, no, I would not care to share that on television. But I did ask him about the workout routine that Arrieta does, and he said he is just an animal, as you guys said. I actually did some Pilates with him, has seen him do yoga, and he said he is certainly a guy that's hard to keep up with. But one of only 5 pitchers with 2 no-hitters, so they have that in common as well. 5 active pitchers, that is.
Yes. Well, Arrieta's first no-hitter occurred August the 30th in Los Angeles against the Dodgers last year, a mere 10 starts ago. You know, carrying from September last year into April this year. Only 2 pitchers in big league history went fewer starts between no-hitters. Naturally, Cincinnati Red Johnny Vandermeer, the only pitcher to throw no-hitters in consecutive starts ever, back in 1938. And Warren Spahn, who had 5 starts between no-hitters, September of 1960, April of 1961. Tyler Holt draws a leadoff walk. So the Reds have their second base runner. Votto singled with 2 outs in the first inning.
You know, we were talking with Joe Madden before the ball game today about Arrieta's no-hitter last night and what was going through his mind as far as putting in defensive replacements. What did he want to do? How far would he let Arrieta go? Because he had something like 94 pitches after 7 innings. And he was wondering, I mean, you're not going to take the guy out of the game. What am I going to have to do? Well, you know, he already thought ahead that the Cubs do have an off day, so he's going to get 1 extra day of rest. And even if he needed 2 extra days of rest, he would let him go deep into a game. Because he was in a ball game, one of the 10 no-hitters that he's been involved in, Joe Madden, where he had a pitcher throw 149 pitches in that game. And you know, he was going to make sure that Arrieta got what he deserved. He wasn't coming out of that ball game. It didn't matter how much rest he needed on the back end to get himself back ready again. So a lot goes into the planning of that while the game's going on. Joe Madden was figuring it out and calculating it while all standing on that top step.
Little butcher boy play and a throw not even close. And naturally, we've talked about it since coming to the National League. You know, the only other way to describe it is Lester has the yips when it comes to throwing the ball from the mound to the first baseman in trying to hold a runner close. So if you get guys on, I mean, you're just completely asleep at the wheel if you're not running virtually every time you get on first.
Well, it's the big opening in the defensive door of the Cubs. There's no question. And it only happens once every 5 days when he takes them out. David Ross is about as good a catch and throw catcher you're going to find. But if Lester can't hold him, there's nothing Ross can do. And it doesn't have to be Billy Hamilton out there, obviously.
No. All right, let's see with 2 strikes here now. And Rizzo right on top of Moscott. Holt runs well out there. And he's out on strikes.
And not very often, though, you see a matchup of 2 Jonathan pitchers. Jonathan Tyler Lester and Jonathan Solomon Moscott.
So now the Reds looking for a 1-out single to try and tie this game up. Cozart the batter. And he's down a strike. Cozart on the second pitch of the game fouled out to Ross in the Reds' first. hold a very conservative lead out there at second base. And Cozart has gone on strikes. 3 of them in the game now for Lester, which gives him 22 on the year. Follow the Reds all year long with the MLB.com at Bat app. Check it out. Live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and so much more. You can download MLB.com at Bat right now. It's turning into a beautiful night, a little cooler than we've had in the better part of nearly 2 weeks. Weather has just been sensational here in Cincinnati, and expecting nothing but sunshine and blue skies over the next number of days. So if you're thinking about coming to the ballpark tomorrow night, we've got the Joey Votto bobblehead giveaway. We have a day game on Sunday. Expecting nothing but sunshine. Temperatures tomorrow in the mid-70s and the low 80s on Sunday. 1-0 on Suarez. Tying run at second. 2-0. Boy, if you didn't know any better, you'd swear this is a pitch around. I mean, you would never think that with Votto even being a left-handed batter in the on-deck circle, but none of the first 3 pitches have been anywhere near the plate to the right-handed batting Suarez.
Now, the first one was the closest, and it was a get-ahead breaking ball that he just wasn't able to get called for a strike.
Then on 3-0, Suarez cuts it loose, and coming down on the bag is Rizzo on a high throw. But they get the out. Reds leave a man in scoring position and trailed by a run. Fox Sports Supports is proud to team up with Surfrider Foundation in celebration of this month's Every Day is Earth Day initiative. Making simple changes in our daily lives, we can make a big impact on our environment. Go to foxsportsupports.com to learn more about what you can do to be part of the solution.
Tom, big day tomorrow up in the Dayton area at the Miracle League of Greater Dayton. They've got their opening day tomorrow.
Wow.
Our good friend William Crotty, who's visited us a couple of times in the booth, will be there. Of course, his Uncle Bob, who we know. But the field that they're opening up tomorrow will be up near Springboro, right near the Springboro Junior High School. And man, if you've never been to a Miracle Field game or outing, before, might not be a bad idea to drop by and appreciate really what our people are doing to help youth play baseball.
No doubt about it. It's great stuff. Rizzo, fly ball to right, that'll reach the seats on the first pitch from Moscot here in the fourth. 2-0 Chicago.
You talk about a guy that is just swinging a homer hot bat, Anthony Rizzo. I think the Cubs like hitting in this ballpark.
And 4 of Rizzo's 6 home runs now this year have come on the very first pitch in the at bat. This guy's hitting 190. 190. And he has 6 home runs and 17 runs batted in.
Well, he's hitting 190, but he's got a 333 on base percentage.
That's right. Only Bryce Harper has more runs batted in than Rizzo among National League players. These Cub hitters are just up there wailing away, and I would never dare suggest about, you know, hitting anybody at any level of baseball, but I mean, I can't remember the last time that a Cub batter was backed out of a batter's box. The reason you can't remember is because it hasn't happened. There's a pitch in the dirt, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Yeah, but that said, Tom, I can't remember the last time a Reds hitter was backed out of the batter's box. I think we're long past those days where, you know, you're trying to intimidate, even though pitchers are throwing harder now than they've ever have before. I think that the rules of baseball and the way the umpire crews have been instructed to enforce those rules, especially coming inside, hitting batters and so on, you've seen the last of that stuff. Doesn't mean you can't pitch inside, though. And that is the important thing I think you're trying to say, because if you don't pitch inside, you're shrinking the amount of the zone that you can pitch to say 4 balls across. Take 4 baseballs at home and put them across. If you refuse to pitch inside, that is the width of your strike zone, and it's a hard thing to throw. And you get a big league hitter looking at the same spot time and time again, he's going to figure out a way to hit it. So go figure. Zobrist comes up first time up after Moscot walked 2 in the first inning. He swung at the first pitch and he flies out to center field. This time he works him for a walk.
Well, we told you the risk of a pop-up shower from time to time tonight. That's exactly what we're sitting through again right now. We continue to play after the walk. Here's Baez, and he singled into right field, stole a base, scored the first Chicago run on the sac fly by David Ross.
Well, the difference between a shower in April and a shower in July it cools you off. In April, you're wishing you'd brought that sweater along with the umbrella. I mentioned earlier where we have a rare matchup tonight of John versus John, and it's spelled J-O-N. John Moscott is short for Jonathan Moscott. Jonathan Solomon Moscott. The same for John Lester. Jonathan Tyler. If you think that's odd, it is, because they were both born during that one decade where the name Jonathan reached its peak in popularity. At that time, 1.5% of the males born in the United States were named Jonathan. Since that time, it's dropped off considerably. Now it's about down to about 0.5% or even less. So there's a little minutia for you, Tom.
I'm all for it. Lester's thinking better him than me right now, pitching while this rain is coming down.
You mentioned John Moscott works quickly, except when runners are on base. In this inning, it's slowed to a crawl. Either he's not ready to pitch or Baez has gotten out of the box.
Two and two the count on Javier Baez. Runner at first, one in, nobody out. And a bouncing ball, weakly hit to short. They'll get one, and that'll be all. Baez will beat the relay throw. Addison Russell grounded out to his counterpart, his first time up tonight. That little one under cover right there. And bundled up. Baez, you may remember, stole second base. Cubs already with a pair of steals in the game tonight against Moscott, who we documented earlier. It takes quite a while to get rid of him. All arms and legs and getting everything going to home plate. Ball one to Addison Russell. If you don't have a great move to first base or a real quick move to the plate, you've got to vary your times. And we talked to John Moscott in one of our tech talks about varying your times, what right-handers can do.
If you come set and count to 1 every single time and go, that guy is going to steal every time, and he's never going to get caught. But if you're a guy who's able to hold the ball on the rubber, and what I mean by that is get on the rubber, and when you come set to actually, you know, hold the ball for a count of 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, and then go. Or the next time you come set, hold it 1 1,000, and then go. That guy can't get into a rhythm with what you're doing, so he's cold-footed every time. And he has to kind of guess as to when you're going to go to the home plate or if you're going to pick off to first.
Now that's the defense of trying to keep the runner at first base, and Moscott's had a hard time doing that. Pretty fancy hitting, though, coming out the bats of those 2 young right-handed hitters in Addison Russell and Javier Baez. Baez a single in the 2nd inning going the other way, and that one right there, Russell finally gets a base hit after hitting line drive after line drive last night. That one falls into right.
So now David Ross in the same position he was in, with the addition, of course, of a runner at first, but he was up there with a runner at third. Baez, his only trip to the plate, and had a sac fly down the right field line. Cubs lead 2-0, threatening for more here in the top of the 4th. Ross started playing professional baseball all the way back in 1998 after being drafted by the Los Angeles Dodgers in the 7th round that year. 7 years later went to the Pirates and on to San Diego, came to the Reds in 06. Released in 08. Signed a minor league contract with Boston. 2 years with Atlanta. Boston, a 2-year deal. Suicide squeeze, and you can't do it better than that. And it's thrown down the line. Both runners are going to advance. So here you have David Ross, who, if you're wondering, is his entire major league and professional career has 28 sacrifice bunts. And you're talking about more than a couple of thousand at bats, and does it to perfection.
Well, I love this play. I mean, because if it's done right, there's no defense at all for it. Moscott makes an attempt to try to get Ross at first base, off balance throw. Bad play by Votto. He needs to come off the bag and get his body in front of that ball to keep it from going into right field. And when it does go into right field, the runners move up. Ross ends up on second base, and Mark Riggins, the pitching coach, comes out to try to settle down Moscott and the rest of the infield.
Be interested to find out sometime if David Ross has ever put down a suicide squeeze bunt. Well, he's been asked to bunt even in his days with the Boston Red Sox, and you don't think about a lot of sacrifice situations in the American League, especially a team like Boston. But you know, Ross every year has been good for 1 or 2 every season of just putting down a bunt to advance a runner throughout his major league career. 2 years he had 5 in back-to-back years with the Reds.
And normally, you know, when you're batting in the 8th spot, and I would imagine, I can look it up, I guess, but you know, David Ross has batted an awful lot in the lower part of the order. You don't see a lot of sacrifices to get to the pitcher.
One ball and 1 strike. Runners at second and third. 1 out. Cubs lead 3-0. And the infield drawn in with the pitcher at the plate. They're doing it again. I tell you what, man, this is textbook baseball right here. I mean, this is exactly how Major League Baseball is supposed to be played.
Here's a team that scored 16 runs last night, and they're got 2 suicide squeezes in the same inning.
In back-to-back hitters.
Of course, that's set up by the ball that got past the first baseman on the attempted out at first base, the first suicide squeeze. The Moscow's throw in by Joey Votto. So in a way you can say, well, the Cubs are just simply taking advantage of the opportunities given to them.
But it's one thing, again, as we talk about all the time, the most overlooked word in maybe the English language, and you can put this word into a sentence in every walk of life. You can talk about doing something, you can plan on doing something, but there is one word that separates the good from the bad, and that word is execution. Can you execute the plan that you have? And I mean to tell you, for David Ross and John Lester, the best laid plans of Joe Madden were executed to perfection. Two and one on Fowler. Runner at third, 2 outs now. And the inning is over. Cubs score 3. We're in the middle of 4th, 4-0 Chicago. Purchase a full price ticket thanks to Klosterman Bakery. I mean, we have kid giveaways, live mascot races, games, face painters, you name it. So bring the entire family down to the ballpark for your next family Sunday game. We'll be right here this Sunday, 1:10, Reds and the Cubs, and would love to have you come on board. So the Cub battery executes back-to-back suicide squeeze bunts to produce runs. 2 of the 3 runs scored in the top of this 4th inning. Here's Votto. He had a check swing accident, base hit down a third base line, protecting with 2 strikes his first time up. And he hooks one to the right side at Zobrist, and that's the way we begin the bottom of the 4th inning. Brandon Phillips hit a comebacker right to Lester to end the first inning. 4 runs, 3 hits for Chicago. The only Reds hit was at Votto's single in the opening inning with 2 outs, 1 error and 2 left on base. Still a very, very light rain falling here at Great American Ballpark. This is playable for Rizzo, and that's out number 2. Yeah, for Red, it's a home run tonight off the Toyota sign out in right center field. Doug Pitkin from Winoka, Ohio, will win the beautiful new Tundra on display here at Great American Ballpark. And you can register for your chance to win. Just stop by your Cincinnati and or Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Three pitches to get 2 outs to begin this 4th inning for Lester. Four pitches total, I beg your pardon. 2 pitches to Votto, 2 to Phillips. And now strike 1 on Mesoraco, who struck out his first time up. A 7-pitch 4th inning through the heart of the order.
In 2013, he took a pitch to the face and had a broken jaw, and he came back with a helmet with a protector on that face. Now he has decided to continue to wear that helmet. Now, not too bad aesthetically because of the evolution of the baseball helmet. But check out what Cincinnati's Dave Parker had to do in 1978. When he had a collision with the catcher, had a broken jaw and a cheekbone. They wanted to get him back as quickly as possible, and he actually returned at first with a hockey goalie's mask. And then they did some experimenting with football face masks that were just basically mounted to a baseball helmet. So they've certainly come a long, long way since those days of Dave Parker doing what he could to get on the field.
Boy, Dave Parker was one tough dude. He's still one tough dude. It's always great to see the big fella in and around town. He's been at a lot of events, Chris, really being welcomed back into the fold here with the Reds, although he wasn't here all that long. Boy, the time he was here, he was some kind of player.
Well, he started up a foundation also, Tom, has a golf tournament in the month of October. I saw him last at that golf tournament. Hope to see him again. Way before October, obviously. Parkway, welcome down here anytime. Well, he'd come roaring around third base, attempting to score. Now, this is before they had that must slide rule or you can't bowl over the catcher rule. And I'm not so sure there was any catcher that was going to hang in there when Dave Parker leveled down and was coming after him.
You know, you look at his career statistics. A .290 career hit. He had over 2,700 major league hits. He had 339 career home runs and knocked in nearly 1,500 runs. 7-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, 3-time Gold Glove Award winner, a National League Most Valuable Player, a 2-time National League batting champion, an All-Star Game Most Valuable Player, and yet not in the Hall of Fame. There are a lot of guys that are in the Hall of Fame without that resume.
You're right. It's a shame.
You know, that year in which his jaw and cheekbone were fractured, as Jim mentioned, that was a game on June the 30th against the New York Mets in a home plate collision with truly one of the toughest guys to ever play baseball. That's a guy named John Stearns. Many of you will not remember him. He was an incredible athlete, football player, baseball player, tough guy. That was a collision that Dave Parker had when he broke his jaw and his cheekbone. At the end of that year, the Pittsburgh Pirates made Dave Parker baseball's first $1 million contract player. The following year, he led them to the World Series title in 1979. Two down in the inning. Hayward and Bryant taken care of, and now it's Rizzo who's walked and homered. Zobrist waits in the on-deck circle. 94th pitch of the game by Muscat. We're in the 5th inning. And a breaking ball bounces up there to Rizzo. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, Tom, under the category of you know who's watching down in the Portsmouth area, which is Al Oliver's scoop.
There's another guy.
Oh, you're not kidding.
There's another guy.
Well,
we've talked about his Hall of Fame credentials
he's
before.
Second in your idea of, or your status on why Parker should be in the Hall of Fame. Just got a text in the scoop. What a great guy.
No doubt about it. You know, when I saw him on the Caravan, Al Oliver, a year ago, you know, I never knew Al Oliver. I mean, you know, I was growing up as a kid while he was playing. I knew he was a great hitter, but I felt like I got to know him through Bob Brenly, who was his teammate with the San Francisco Giants later in Al Oliver's career. But I'm not sure I've ever heard Bob Brindley talk about a player that he was truly more in awe of than Al Oliver, who at that point in his career couldn't wear spikes much anymore. His feet and his knees and his legs had gotten so bad through all the years of playing on turf and that kind of thing.
Didn't keep him from hitting line drive.
No, he'd play games in tennis shoes.
Yeah.
And, you know, Brindley just couldn't believe the way this guy could hit. And used to tell stories of a great sense of humor. You know, loved talking, and Al Oliver giving guys a hard time around him. And Brindley would imitate Al, and I told Al all about it. He got the biggest kick out of it. Brindley used to say they'd have hitters meeting every day about the pitcher in the game. They'd go around the room, and they'd always ask Al last, Al, what do you think about Doc Gooden? And he'd say, well, we got an agreement. He throws it and I whack it. Or he throws it and he ducks. Or he throws it and then backs up third.
Well, the ducks part is right, because if you had to pitch against Al Oliver, the first thing that was on your mind was, is he going to hit the ball right back at me like a bullet? And you wanted him to pull the ball, so you pitch him inside. You didn't want that ball coming back at you.
Runner goes, and it's a strike. Throw down there, and this time they cut down a would-be base stealer. So a scoreless fifth. We still have a long way to go in this one. Reds are down 4-0.
Baseball, Cubs leading over the Reds, doing a little manicuring on the mound as we speak. John Lester sets to go to work against Jay Bruce. Now, Jay Bruce has been dealing with a lot on his mind. His wife Hannah is back in Houston expecting the birth of their son. Her due date is tomorrow, and the doctors, Jay tells me, don't want her to go much past her due date, so they will induce her if she does not go into labor tomorrow. Jay told me regardless, after Sunday's game, if she has not had the child, if he's not gotten that call, that he will leave and go to Houston. The players are allowed to have 3 days in this situation, and he will take all 3. So at some time in the next week, the Reds are going to have to do without Jay Bruce, but we wish Hannah the best. They are expecting a boy, as I said, and they've already named him Carter.
Well, our thoughts and prayers to Hannah and Jay and their extended families. I tell you what, man, I certainly hope he's able to make it down there for the delivery of that child, because there is no greater miracle in the world right before your eyes than to be there for that. It's here first. Jay trying to bunt his way aboard to get something, anything started here in the bottom of the 5th inning, but the Cubs were expecting it. And Baez actually coming in a little bit as the only defender.
He was playing about here on that very first pitch.
Hey, one final footnote, by the way, on Al Oliver. When he was 35 years old in 1982 with the Montreal Expos, he won the National League batting crown that year, hitting .331. And at 35 years young, he had 204 hits, 43 doubles, and knocked in 109 runs. Mr. Al Oliver.
Mr. Line Drive.
You were saying between innings that Greg Gibson, the home plate umpire, is from that same neck of the woods.
Yeah, Al is an ordained minister down in the Portsmouth, Wheelersburg area. Of course, Gene Bennett, longtime Reds scout and Reds operative down in that area. Greg Gibson down there. You see them all in January when they have the dinner to benefit the football murals that are about a mile long in Portsmouth. If you've never been down there to see those, it's just a marvelous sight. One mural after another, many of them sports inspired. See a mural of Don Gullett down there. Of course, Don is right from the other side of the river in South Shore, Kentucky. That's a hotbed for Reds baseball down there.
And Bruce shoots one into left center field to hit.
That's a good bit of hitting by Jay. Really good bit of hitting. And we're seeing so much more of it this year. Just staying on it.
Well, let's see if that can't spark the Reds to getting something going here against Lester. It's just their second base hit of the game. The other by Votto on a check swing up a third base line in the first inning. So now Adam Duvall, the batter. Reds have action in their bullpen. J.C. Ramirez, just brought up from the minor leagues before the game today, begins to throw. So you're getting near the bottom of the batting order. You have Duvall here seventh, Holt next, and then the pitcher spot. Slow breaking ball, and Duvall way out in front. Adam flied out to left field his first time up. Rain continues to lightly fall. It'll start a little heavier and then lighten up. We're told anyway, the longer we go into the night, the percentage of the chance of rain goes down. So hopefully that's good news.
Well, didn't we have enough rain delays last year?
Yes, we did.
To last for maybe the next decade?
Yes, we did. It's a good eye right there on Duvall. Borderline pitch. And really that's a pitch that Lester has tried a number of times tonight. And it's just not getting that call from Greg Gibson. Another base hit. So back to back by Bruce and Duvall. And now a little something working.
Yeah, you know, you made a great point about Lester not getting that call. By staying off that previous pitch, Lester had to bring the next one more over the strike zone and actually got it more inside than he ever wanted it to. You see Ross is set up outside. That ball drifts over the inner third, and Duvall is right there to nail a line drive. So sometimes it's as important as to what you don't swing at as to what you do swing at.
Now the Cubs wondering here what Holt might be up to. Now they're pinched a little bit on the corners. I mean, Rizzo's not coming in yet. Now you're down 4-0. You're only in the 5th inning. Do you think about a bunt here with nobody out, first and second base? More than likely not. But we'll see. But the Cubs, they're wondering the same thing. And now Ross wants timeout and will slowly walk to the mound. And the entire infield is going to gather on this meeting. It's another thing I've always loved to see. Chris, maybe you feel differently as a pitcher. But everybody on the same page. Now, could have something to do with the possibility of a bunt. How are you going to play this? What's Lester thinking about? There are a lot of things more than likely going on there, right?
Yeah, and when it's this type of situation, you do want everybody in there. You don't want anything left uncertain. But if it's a pitcher having a hard time throwing strikes, or he's on his way getting pulled out of the ball game, you don't need an audience of everybody else in the infield to hear what the manager is going to say to you, although they all want to hear. So they sneak in just close enough.
All right, 2 on for the Reds, nobody out. They're trailing 4-0 here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Tyler Holt walked his first time up. 2 out of 9 so far this year, and looks at a strike. Lester ahead 1-2. There's that cutter right in on the hands of Holt, who's able to hang around by fouling it off. Tried to tease him with that breaking ball. He spun up there at 78 miles per hour. And once more, Duvall lays off of it. And now the 2-2 pitch with 2 on and none out. Longest at bat of a night for a Red. This will be the 7th pitch. Hold up there in a battle with Lester after singles to begin the inning by Jay Bruce and Adam Duvall. And now Lester nods in agreement with the sign given by Ross coming in again. And this is a double play. Oh, maybe a triple play. Nope. That's as close as you're going to get. On a 5-4-3 around the horn attempt at a triple play.
Well, it was hit perfectly by Holt to Baez, and it's a heads-up play by Baez, not to tag the bag, but to go to second base, realizing that he's got a really close chance of maybe getting a triple play. But of course, Holt playing center field tonight, a guy that's very fleet of foot.
And it is really a good play. It's been an impressive game tonight from the Cubs. I know oftentimes, you know, 9 out of every 10 people watching this game tonight are Reds fans and don't want to hear necessarily all the time about how great the other team is, and no one is saying how great the other team is. But there are moments when you watch enough baseball games where there is a team doing a lot of things very, very well, and that's exactly what the Cubs have done so far here tonight. I don't know the last time I've seen a third baseman field a ground ball and throw to second base, and a guy's there expecting it and ready on a bang-bang play. Don't remember the last time I've seen it. It's always tap on the bag, throw to first. And here's Jordan Pacheco. He will bat for John Moscott, who goes 5 innings tonight. He only allowed 3 hits. He gives up 4 runs. Defense certainly could have been a little bit better behind it. Not only plays that you're charged with an error, but plays where there probably could have been an error or should have been an error, but there wasn't. And the Cubs executed 2 suicide squeeze bunts by Ross and Lester in consecutive at bats, producing a pair of runs in the 3-run fourth. So what do you think about Moscott now, his first 2 starts under his belt from the DL?
Well, I'm sure that if you ask John, he figures that it could improve a little bit. I'm not so sure he felt like I don't think he threw enough strikes tonight early on. And a lot of that maybe have to do with giving the Cubs a little too much credit. I mean, you see a team that has been walloping the Reds the way they have, scored 16 runs last night. It's natural to go out there thinking you've got to make perfect pitches. He had a couple very good innings and a couple innings where he just got some bad breaks. The walks had something to do with it.
Two balls, 2 strikes on Jordan Pacheco. Runner at first, 2 outs, and now Lester will come to the plate. This game closing in on 2 hours young, and we are in the bottom of the 5th inning.
Very much like John Moscott, John Lester slows it down with runners on.
Slow dribbler off his foul ball off his foot. Pacheco limping and got his left foot, must have gotten it pretty good. Yeah, right off the toe. Still 3 balls and 2 strikes on Pacheco, batting for Moscot. Inning started with back-to-back hits, and the Cubs turned the double play, so Holt will start again on a 3-2 count. And another foul ball off to the first base side.
I like this at bat so far for Jordan Pacheco. I mean, he is battling.
Three balls, 2 strikes once more. The battle continues. And a bouncing ball to Russell. He'll throw on to first. And a promising start, a disappointing finish. 2 hits, 1 left. We played 5, and the Cubs lead it 4-0.
Presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Tomorrow, David Ortiz looks to continue his blistering start to his final season as the Red Sox battle the Astros at 3:30 Eastern on Fox Sports 1, or you can watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Reds made a roster move today. Tim Melville was sent out, and J.C. Ramirez recalled from AAA Louisville. And he right now is about to make his Reds debut, and he's the first Red born in Nicaragua to appear in a major league game. It's a guy that Brian Price talks about how good a stuff he has, but he's just never been able to put it together at the major league level. They think that some of the changes that they have made, and Chris Welch can perhaps talk about this further, in philosophy of pitch selection and using his slider more. That's what he said today. They told him to go down to Louisville and use that slider even when you're behind in the count, and it seemed to work. He had decent numbers in Louisville, and ready to see what he can do up here at the big club.
Alrighty, so here we go. Ramirez, 96 miles per hour, cuts it loose.
He's got plenty of arm, there's no question about it. I mean, those are his numbers at Louisville this year. He's been in the big leagues before. 27 years old. In fact, he was with 2 different teams last year. Pitched in 20 games overall, 12 with the Diamondbacks and 8 with the Seattle Mariners. I mean, he can bust it anywhere from 92 to 98. We saw him in spring training. Live arm, but again, got to get that zip code down.
Ben Zobrist batting in the 5 spot, leading things off here in the Cubs' 6th inning. 4 runs, 3 hits for Chicago. No runs, 3 hits for the Reds, and it's 3 balls and 1 strike on Zobrist, who tonight has popped up and drawn a walk. Strike on the outside corner. Coming up later on, as always, we'll have our Miller Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. You know, we were talking this time last night, Jim Day, you were all over the Homer Bailey story and his rehab for Louisville. Well, the beat goes on for rehab starts tonight, because John Lamb, a young man that certainly would have been in the mix for a spot in the Red starting rotation to open the year, before, you know, they realized after having a back surgery during the offseason that his start to spring training would be delayed, and so that's really set him back a good solid month plus, but now on the comeback trail. Any word yet on his numbers tonight in Louisville?
Unfortunately, Tom, it did not go well tonight at all. He only went 2 2/3 innings, gave up 11 hits and 9 earned runs. So the trail back for John Lamb will seemingly be a little bit longer. He is not guaranteed once that he is stretched out enough that he's going to come back to the big club. They will certainly keep an eye on his numbers, unlike Homer Bailey, who they know his track record, and they just want to get him through health.
All right, well, you know, we'll keep an eye on what's going on with Lamb. Obviously, the first thing you're most concerned about is, you know, how he feels when he comes back tomorrow.
You know, kind of interesting though, Tom. You bring up Lamb. A lot of people have forgotten all about John Lamb, and you know, his comeback now from back surgery, also a big strengthening process of trying to get his core strong. I mean, one game, you can't worry about that.
No.
You know, hopefully John Lamb doesn't worry about it. The Reds don't either. But it's just interesting. Now, when you start adding John Lamb to the mix, we've already seen Robert Stevenson a couple of times. You know, we were very impressed with Cody Reed in spring training. I mean, these are up and comers. Amir Garrett, from what I understand, got off to a good start. Haven't seen what he did this last time out. He's down in Double-A. Nick Travioso. The Reds have some comers up in the next, you know, either months or years that are, you know, quality type pitchers that we haven't seen the caliber of in quite a while. The question is, when will they be big league ready, and what will they do when they get here?
That ball's in the air to right field, and right at the edge of the warning track. Calling it in is Jay Bruce. So after a leadoff walk, a lot of strikes being thrown by J.C. Ramirez, and there are 2 outs in the inning.
You know, sometimes you have a young pitcher like Ramirez. I say young, he's 27.5 years old, but you know, when you throw hard, and that is the reputation that you have, and you get a shot in the major leagues like this, what do you want to do? You want to get out and show everybody how hard you throw. So your mechanics go bad, your shoulder flies open, you start missing the strike zone. Then you get our guy on base, you say, uh-oh, I don't want him to score. I better get back down to pitching right here and not worry about how hard I'm throwing.
You know, we asked a question, and Joe Luckham, our statistician here in the booth, was able to run this down. We asked about David Ross, how many successful suicide squeezes he's had in his major league career. He had 28 total sacrifices in his major league career, spanning well over 2,200 at bats. He add in all the walks, plate appearances, which of course sacrifices do not count for at bats. He has 6 of them, but the one tonight was his first since 2011. He actually had 3 suicide squeeze successfully executed as a member of the Cincinnati Reds. So how about that? 1-1 the count on Ross, who's driven in a pair of runs tonight. You say driven, one of them a fly ball down the right field line, very short right field, but he got the job done. Plating Baez from third, and then that suicide squeeze, scoring Baez from third. 2-2 to David Ross. Truly one of the real likable guys that has ever played Major League Baseball is David Ross. As we've talked about, that at least the plan is this is his final season. You know, you're always subject to change your mind.
He's one of those guys who is just so appreciative of the opportunity that he's had to play big league baseball.
Straight up in the air. And in foul ground, Mesoraco has it. So a job well done in his Reds debut tonight by J.C. Ramirez. He walked the first batter, retired 3 in a row. Good job. Top of the order coming up. Sports Ohio brought to you by your local Ford dealer, Ford Go Further, and by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on U.S. News Best Children's Hospitals in America. And as always, a very special hello to those watching tonight in and around Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and hoping that you've had a great day today and even better one tomorrow. So John Lester will climb the rubber. And it's a top of the order for the Reds, trailing 4-0. Well, he keeps reaching down to, well, maybe not. I don't know. It seems like he's been, sort of reaching around the wrist area a lot here tonight, trying to perhaps keep those fingers dry. Lester's been around a long time. We talked about that one game that he pitched for Oakland. The only time he ever appeared in a playoff game for them, that was a one-game playoff when they gave him the big lead, and it just did not go Lester's way at all. Gave up 8 hits and 6 runs. That's in the air to left center field. And the Reds are on the board for the first time in this series. And it's Cozart's first home run of this season.
As that goes up, to get a high fastball right there. I'm not so sure Lester wanted that ball up. Cozart is very quick on a pitch up. We saw that when he first broke into the major leagues a few years ago. That's a home run blast that people have been waiting around here for a while here.
That's Cozart's first home run since just before he was injured last year on June the 9th. You may remember Cozart had 9 home runs over the first 2 months of last season. Suarez quickly behind 0-2. You know, getting back to Lester, outside of that one wild card start, man, did he pitch at some big games for the Boston Red Sox. Postseason in 07, 08, 09, 13, 15. Last year with the Cubs. And you know, it's funny, you know, you talk to Red Sox fans and all of us have such a selective memory. You know, he pitched great games in the division series. He pitched some series where he didn't pitch all that well in the league championship series. Had 4 losses in his career in 5 starts, 7 games. Here's a little looper into shallow center. It'll fall in a hit. As soon as it left the bat, it had that trajectory, is going to land softly on that grass, and that it did.
Lester got in there on him a little bit. Suarez, he dropped that slider in on his hands a couple of times. That time came in with the fastball, and the blooping's right center field.
When it came time for the 2 appearances for Lester in the World Series, it was lights out, brother, and that's what most Boston Red Sox fans remember.
And it really had welded Lester's image in Boston,
yes,
as one of the most well-liked Red Sox players in a long, long time.
3 World Series starts, 3-0 record, 0.4 earned run average. That is doing it. Now this will be a double play, and just like that, the bases are empty. 2 down here in the 6th. All right, GS bringing the energy. We talk about Lester and the kind of career he's had going back to 2006. I mean, look where he ranks. Starts, wins, win percentage, strikeouts, innings, all among the top 10. He has had one outstanding major league career.
And you may remember that John Lester was diagnosed with cancer at age 22, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And when he recovered from that, he had chemotherapy and everything that goes along with it to get him well again. There was a young player in the Red Sox minor leagues that was also diagnosed with cancer. And when he went to Boston to get treatment, well, we're going to get back and finish this story next week, because it is certainly worth talking about.
Reds get a run. They get the home run by Cozart, but Lester squashes the idea of anything more. Hey, we've got a long way to go in this one. This game's not over. 3-run ball game. It's 4-1. Great American Ballpark, your family day destination. You can take advantage and save with a family Sunday ticket offer. Enjoy live mascot races, face painters, games, and more. And thanks to College Advantage, all kids 14 and younger this weekend receive a Reds super themed fathead. Kids love to put those up in their room. So come on down to the ball. Holy Moses, look at that attire. Where's Waldo?
Well, we know.
You know, maybe one night we ought to dress up like that for a telecast. What do you think?
What do you mean we?
That's not a French word for yes. That would be W-E.
I'm game for it, sure.
Sure you are.
I mean, be a good look. I mean, I even got you to wear a bow tie, I think, once last year.
No, I wore more than once. And when you come back on Tuesdays, I'll wear them with you this year.
All right.
Although you didn't show the other night. We got to win. And our good friends at Mike's Car Wash back with us again this year. It's going to be plenty of time for Brandon Phillips to handle that bouncer as J.C. Ramirez starts his second inning of work.
Ramirez is a big guy. 6'4", or maybe even a little bit more. Goes about 250. Gets that split finger fastball grip on every pitch before he puts that ball into his glove, and then he goes to either the slider or the fastball from there.
Fowler is 0 for 3, has hit 2 rockets. One a diving play by Votto to his right leading off the game, and then the last one almost knocked Brandon Phillips off the infield dirt to the outfield grass. He hit it so hard. It's that pretty good slider right there now. He's throwing a few of them tonight.
Well, he's looking for a fastball that is Fowler, and every pitch in this at bat, he's yet to get one. I think he's thrown 2 sliders and a splitter. And some heat.
This one's in the air. 2 ball is there. 2 up, 2 down. Hey, it's nice to see somebody coming up now from the AAA Louisville bats, and after the very first batter, nerves undeniably. He now all of a sudden is throwing a lot of strikes, and he's retired 4 batters in a row. 5 of them now. 2 outs in the inning. And here's Hayward, who's walked, had a hit taken away on a diving play made by Duvall back in the 3rd, and then Hayward struck out in the 5th. Reds will have Mesoraco, Bruce Duvall, hoping for more than that against Lester in the 7th. 1 ball and 1 strike on Hayward. They may have gotten Mesoraco on the exposed part of that right ankle, or maybe the heel of the right foot. That foot slurring turned slightly out. Short center. Holt coming hard. He'll run it down. What a nice outing tonight for J.C. Ramirez. Rolls on tomorrow. The Reds and Cubs continue this series. Saturday night baseball. Reds Live starts at 6:30. April in the OHIO presented by Meyer. And you can get ready for Reds action 30 minutes before the start of every game. Reds Live presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Tomorrow we kick it off at 6:30. Jeff Pecoro, Brian Giesenslaw, Jim Day, and Chris Welsh. And a cast of hundreds getting you ready for Reds baseball. Jim Day will be making his way over to the Fox Sports condominium shortly. I'm sure there'll be a whole bunch of folks waiting on JD's arrival tonight. Be nice if he had a victory to talk about tonight.
Sure would. This ball club has been very dramatic so far in this short season, especially at home.
Yes.
I want to get back to that to finish the story
Yes.
about John Lester, who was diagnosed with cancer at 22, had a round of chemo, has put the disease in remission, and he's essentially cured. So when it was an 18-year-old Red Sox minor leaguer that was also diagnosed, Terry Francona, the manager then, and Theo Epstein went to Lester and said, would you meet with this young man? Because sometimes a teammate can say things that no one else can.
Sure.
About his experience of going through the recovery and the treatments and what it's like and so on. And they had a special bond when this 18-year-old who was just had been signed the year before by the Cubs, or by the Boston Red Sox. And as it turns out, that they are teammates now. They were reunited, and that young minor leaguer is Anthony Rizzo. And it's a story and a bond, of course, that they have been able to keep it. Every once in a while, Rizzo will bring it up and laugh about it and smile about it. But there's something that goes very deep between those two.
Sure. Quickly 2 away against Lester here in the 7th inning. Look at these last 2 innings. 17 total pitches for Lester. He got through that 4th inning on 7. That's when he went through Votto, Phillips, and Mesoraku. And this will be his 7th pitch in this inning. Duvall is fly to left and single. Just a 3-run ball game here in the last of the 7th inning. Two and one on Duvall. And now 2-2. Here comes a 2-2 pitch. And it's ball 3. Lester wondering where that one missed. The lower part of the strike zone has not been called strikes regularly tonight. And that's right on the line there. And this will be the 100th pitch of the night for John Lester. He strikes out Duvall. A perfect 7th for Lester. Off to the 8th. 4-1 Cubs in front. was 1-0 Chicago until the 4th. First pitch of the inning. Anthony Rizzo, his 6th home run. And then back-to-back suicide squeezes executed to perfection. First by David Ross. And next, John Lester plating Baez and then Russell. In a 3-run inning to make it 4-0. Cozart homered. Leading off the Reds 6th. Suarez followed with a single. With the heart of the order coming up, you think, well, maybe something's going on. Votto hit a ground ball right at the second baseman, turned into a double play. Phillips popped up, and Lester goes through the side in order in the 7th. So here we are in the 8th, and J.C. Ramirez is still on the mound, making his Reds debut tonight. And boy, has he been impressive. Ooh. Did that get Mesoraco again?
Right on the mask that time.
Oh boy. I don't know how these guys do it. Really don't know how they do it.
That's the old-fashioned mask that Devin Mesoraco uses. You see the home plate umpire Greg Gibson wearing more of the hockey style. Sometimes you hang a slider so far inside, it's the most effective pitch you can throw. They call it a backup slider. I don't know if it actually backs up or not, but in lingo among pitchers, if you can throw a backup slider on command or on demand, that might be the best pitch in your arsenal. Because it spins like it should break away from the hitter, but it actually moves inside. Defying physics. Which I'm sure you did a lot of that when you were.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. You know, physics comes in many different forms.
Okay. I just gave you one example.
Yes, you did. There are others, I can assure you. Here's a high hopper. Votto will feed Ramirez at the bag, and there are 2 away in the inning.
I'll tell you what, with the stuff that Ramirez has shown, not only here but in spring training, we saw him pitch a couple of times in the springtime, and his stuff is every bit as good as anybody on this ball club. And the way he has come in, and after that first batter got out of the way, where he walked Zobrist, he's retired everybody else. I mean, this is a pitching staff and a bullpen that you can move up the totem pole pretty quickly on.
A bouncer into center field. That'll be a 2-out single by Zobrist. First hit allowed by Ramirez. Now, for those of you just joining us, this is not JC's major league debut. He's pitched in a total of 38 major league games. 18 with Philadelphia in 2013 after originally being signed by the Seattle Mariners. He was involved in that Cliff Lee deal in 2009 we brought up earlier. And then last year spent 12 games with the Diamondbacks. Was acquired by the Mariners for some cash and pitched in 8 games for them. But this is his first game pitching for the Cincinnati Reds. Nicaraguan born. And 3 innings pitched is the longest outing he's had in his major league career. That was while pitching for the Diamondbacks last June. He's trying to get through 3 innings tonight. He's an out away.
There's only one other current player in the major leagues, active player this year in 2016, who is from Nicaragua, and that is Erasmo Ramirez, who is pitching now in Tampa Bay.
And again, another stolen base against the pitcher. That's not on Mesoraco.
The Reds think enough of it that they're going to ask for a review. They think the tag, even though it was a quick pick by Brandon Phillips on the short hop, but his glove may have touched Zobrist on the head before Zobrist was able to get his arm in there. Take another look. Tag upside the head.
It looked to be on the bill of the helmet before that left hand found the bag. We'll see. You're talking about players from Nicaragua and only 2 now. There have been 14 in Major League Baseball history, and by far the greatest of them all, El Presidente, they called him.
Oh, no
Dennis
doubt.
Martinez. Spent 22 years in the major leagues.
I played with a winter ball with a pitcher from Nicaragua. His last name was Williams. I think his name was Alberto Williams.
And out is a call.
And that was a good call.
Yeah, it is a good call.
Rob Kaufman. Way to go.
Reds will bat in the 8th. They're down by 3. Live on your mobile device, just go to your app store, download the free Fox Sports Go app, and check out the Reds wherever you go. All right, John Lester in 7 innings delivers another quality start. We talked about this Cub team. It's the best start in the history of their franchise in relation to their starting pitchers. They have 11 wins in their first 16 games.
And it's funny because they feel like their bullpen can be a major strength of this team. And the guy on the mound right now, Pedro Strop, one reason why. But the bullpen really hasn't been tested all that much. Their starters are going so deep into the game and they've had a lot of blowout type wins. You don't really know what the bullpen can do under pressure.
You realize tonight is their 17th game. You want to take a guess at how many runs their starters have allowed in 17 games?
I wouldn't. You know, I like to know is that, but I also like to know the run differential for their starters, meaning how many runs have they scored while their starters have been out there.
Well, I can tell you
how
this.
many that they have given up.
The starters have allowed a total in now 17 games. Think about this. Their starters have allowed 29 runs in 17 games. But the Reds are still in this thing.
Yep.
I mean, we're in the bottom of the 8th inning. There wasn't a whole lot of doubt about last night. The 16 runs, a no-hitter by Arrieta. But tonight, the Reds very much in this one. They're down 4-1. Holt, Schebler stands in the on-deck circle. And then we go back to the top of the order. Check swing, and that's strike 3.
Well, that's nasty right there. You know, Pedro Strop has developed into one of the best setup man in all of baseball. And you forget that he was also one of those players who was in that Jake Arrieta deal when they made a deal between the Cubs and the Baltimore Orioles that sent Arrieta from Baltimore to Chicago. Oh, by the way, you can also have this relief pitcher named Strop. And all he has done for the last couple of seasons with the Cubs is have earned run averages under 3 and strike out more batters in innings pitched.
Schebler quickly behind, 0-2. Strop will give the underhand feed to Rizzo. 2 away in the inning. So Ramirez, as Hoover is warming up in the bullpen, Ramirez matches his career high, pitching 3 innings here tonight. The only other time he did it was June the 8th of last year in a Arizona Diamondbacks loss at Dodger Stadium. But in his Reds debut, very impressive tonight. J.C. Ramirez, 3 innings, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts, walked the first batter he faced. No runs. High tapper down to 3rd. Inning over. Strop a perfect 8th. 9th inning around the corner. 4-1 Cubs leading. One more time tomorrow, the first 25,000 fans through the gate receive a Votto-matic Super bobblehead thanks to John Morrell. So come on down. You can pick up a ticket as low as $12, and we'd love to have you. 7:10 first pitch mañana. All right, now the building up, if you will, the rebuilding up, Chris, if you will, of J.J. Hoover. We know this guy is a much better pitcher than what we have seen so far this season. He had an outstanding year last year. He did not pitch well in 14, pitched very well in 13 and 12. And they want Hoover to get back to where they know he can be.
Well, they need him to get back to where he was last year. I mean, he's a guy with some experience. He's pitched really good games for the Reds last year. And it's really for J.J. going back to basics. Is what he did between 2014 when he struggled to last year. That curveball has a lot to do with it. You can see the reaction of the hitter Baez bailing out of the batter's box, and that pitch coming right in there for a strike.
Baez, Russell, Ross here in the Chicago ninth. Reds have out hit them 5-4. Cubs have outscored them 4-1. Another good breaking ball.
And why not? I mean, there's no rule out there that says closers have to throw fastballs. I mean, we got used to that over the last few years with the Rollers Chapman coming in the ninth inning. But the idea is you just get hitters out. Francisco Cordero comes to mind.
Yes, he got people out for a long time.
And really, if you look at the stuff of J.J. Hoover, he's got a big looping over the top curveball. And you want to throw a pitch that looks like it stays at the top of the zone, and that would be the fastball. You want to stay away from the belt area. But he can be very effective. That ball got out of here in a hurry. Now that was the area you want to stay out of, which is the belt area. But I mean, just to complete the thought, you throw the high fastball at the letters and you start the breaking ball there, and presumably if you finish it, it'll come down around the knees. Actually, that's not all that bad of a pitch when you look at it on slow motion. He really went out there and reached for it.
That makes it a 5-1 Chicago lead. Cubs have now hit 10 home runs in the 5 games so far they've played against the Reds. And Addison Russell, another loud out. Boy, this guy can't wait to get out of Cincinnati. His team might be rolling, but he cannot find a hole. Hit 4 of them last night.
He was 0 for 6 last night with 4 line drives. 1 for 4 tonight. The only hit he has is an opposite field single. Nice play by Kozar to steal that from him.
Statistician Joe Luckham is giving a very interesting piece of information here. David Ross tonight has a sac fly and a sacrifice bunt run batted in. He is the first player in Major League Baseball to do that in almost 3 years. Elvis Andrus of the Texas Rangers, the last player to do it. You know, Andrus, you're not necessarily surprised. And maybe after the information we gave you earlier, I shouldn't be all that surprised with David Ross. He has 6 successful suicide squeezes in his Major League career.
Well, what it does show you is how few times that play is utilized.
I mean, it's more than just conceivable. It's probable that we will not see a suicide squeeze bunt successfully executed for 2 months.
Yeah.
If even that.
I think there was a time, you know, when teams were scoring way more runs, called the steroid era,
Sure.
right? You didn't want to do that because everybody was capable of hitting a 3-run home run. But now that the scores of the games have been, you know, smaller numbers, pitching has dominated, strikeouts have dominated. You get a guy at third base, the manager's thinking about winning a ball game. Why not? You may get a call from the player's agent, but you can handle that.
Yeah. Player's agent doesn't manage the team. There's strike 3 call.
Nice pitch by Hoover.
Well, our Miller time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. Go back to a play made off the bat of Hayward in the 3rd inning by Adam Duvall. This was an outstanding defensive play. Tommy La Stella will come up and bat for the pitcher. It's no longer a save situation. It would have been a save situation if they'd have brought Stroke back, because he entered the game when it was a 3-run game. His La Stella can hit a little bit. Justin Grimm getting loose in their bullpen. He'll come on to pitch the bottom of the 9th. Sizzles by Brandon Phillips into right center field. Well, coming up after tonight's game and after every Reds game here on Fox Sports Ohio, we invite you to stick around for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. Jeff Piccoro standing by down on the field as Jim Day makes his way to the Fox Sports Ohio condominium. Dexter Fowler's been on base more than any other major league player so far this year. He has not been on base tonight. If they can retire him right here and right now, it would be just his 2nd start all year for Fowler where he has failed to reach base. So for 4 with 2 lineouts, one at Votto and one at Phillips. 2 balls and a strike. Three and 2 on Fowler. That ball is drilled in a deep left center field, and that is up against the wall, and this will plate another run. La Stella races in from first, so Fowler gets on after all with an RBI double. 2 runs here in the ninth to make it 6-1 Chicago.
Now Fowler had hit 3 line drives that were caught previous to that one right there. No one was catching that one. It went up against the left center field wall. And that's a part of the strike zone that nobody can live in. This side of her Aroldis Chapman.
We had a lot of nice things to say last night about some of the Cub fans and the way they conducted themselves until that moron at the end of the night ran out on the field. But, I think everybody agrees, you get behind your team, you love your team, you root for your team, all that kind of thing. As that one is hooked down the right field line into the corner, this will bring in another run. And Hayward will stop with a run scoring double, 7-1. But I was just starting to say, it's one thing to go into the other team's ballpark and buy the tickets and come to the game, and that's great. Support your team. I think everybody feels that way. But when you start the chant about "Let's go Cubbies" and you're up by 6 runs in the 9th inning, that's where the rub oftentimes happens with enough already. There's a drive into right center field, and this will bring in another run. Boy, this is getting ugly. Really ugly.
Well, not only ugly, but painful. And painful not only for J.J. Hoover, but for Brian Price, who has shown a lot of faith in J.J. Hoover throughout spring training. Said, J.J.'s my guy, staying behind him, giving Hoover a chance to get out there and try to get some work in, and he just can't go any farther. This is tough for both of these guys.
Yeah,
it really is. And you can't find a better human being on this pitching staff or on this entire team than J.J. Hoover.
You're right about that.
Going through a real rough time right now.
T-Mobile get Major League coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE in the last year. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places. Ross Ohlendorf will replace J.J. Hoover. Cubs have scored 4 runs here in the 9th inning. Runner at second, 2 outs, and the batter is Anthony Rizzo. Be careful on his first pitch. Told you Rizzo, of his 6 home runs this season, including tonight back in the 4th inning, 4 of the 6 have come on the first pitch of the at-bat. And you're talking about one of the real patient hitters in all the Major League Baseball. Four runs so far in the inning. 3 have scored with 2 outs and nobody on. Cubs have 4 straight hits. Listella single, doubles by Fowler, Hayward, Bryant producing runs. Straight up in the air. And the inning comes to an end. Cubs get 4. Reds will bat in the bottom of the 9th. 8-1 Chicago. Run. Cozart getting his first home run since he was injured last of June. It's nice to see. Told you, got that home run on June the 9th last year. His season came to an end the very next day in what was his 500th career game. While running out a ground ball against Philadelphia, suffered those tears in the ACL, the LCL, and the biceps tendon of his right knee. Went on the disabled list, and then 5 days later had season-ending reconstructive surgery. And he is off to an excellent start this season. Another guy really easy to root for. Good to see good things for him. All right. Here we go in the bottom of the 9th. Justin Grimm, a right-hander, takes over on the mound for Joe Maddon's team.
Grimm has been a member of the Cubs bullpen since 2013 when he was traded in the Matt Garza deal. Garza went to the Rangers, and Grimm came from the Rangers where he was a starter. They converted him to a reliever at that point, the Cubs did, and he had a rough spot there, and I guess in the early part of his career with the Cubs, but he's been really pretty solid last couple of years. I mean, last year he had 67 strikeouts in 49 innings.
Boy, they were so glad to get Garza out of town. That was a guy who, you know, after he had left, he made all those comments publicly, like he was having a conversation with Jeff Samardzija. Hey, Russell looks like he has a hard time getting that ball across the infield. It's a very awkward throwing. Don't you think? A little bit of an awkward throwing motion?
Yeah, he does have a little awkward throwing motion. We'll take another look at it. Meanwhile, Suarez really busting it down the line. I mean, it looks like he just flies his shoulder open, to be honest with you, and then drops his arm, and that ball's got some tail on it. He's got tremendous range, though, Russell. Great upside, offensively and defensively.
You may remember there's just to finish. I thought those comments made by, you know, Garza on the way out about how, you know, the Cubs keep telling you they're rebuilding and they're not scoring any runs, and, you know, Samardzija needs to get out of there. Well, Samardzija pitched far better with the Cubs than he has since leaving the Cubs.
Yeah.
And I think it's safe to say they knew what they were doing in this rebuilding plan. Garza currently on the disabled list with the Milwaukee Brewers and will be for quite some time. Here's Votto. And hit with a pitch. So he's aboard. Joey on base twice tonight, a single, and now hit by a pitch, and here comes Brandon Phillips, who's 0 for 3. Two balls and a strike on Brandon. This was a 4-1 game until the Cubs came to bat in the top of the 9th inning. Knocked down by Grimm. He finds the ball, and he'll get the out. Reds down to their final out. Votto on to second base. I want to check on Grimm to make sure he's okay. Greg Gibson, the home plate umpire, out for a quick visit. And Grimm able to laugh about it. Got him on the back of the right leg, it looked like, that one hopper.
Put a glove on that leg.
That's right.
He'll hear that when he gets in the clubhouse.
So here's Devin Mesoraco with 2 outs and a runner at second. Steal right 1. Mesoraco hitless in 3 at bats tonight. And that's the old ball game on the broken bat liner to short. The Chicago Cubs are rolling. There is no debate about that. Major League Baseball's best record. Their starting pitching has been incredible. Their offense, patient, drawing walks, getting hits, hitting the long ball, 10 of them in 5 games against the Reds this year. Solid defense. They look the part right now. All right, 2 games down in this series. Tomorrow night will be game 3. And the pitching matchup tomorrow night will feature Dan Straley against right-hander John Lackey. Time for Reds Live, the postgame version, right here on Fox Sports Ohio.